All right. We did 2 videos a little while ago on our Reading Around the World series. We've done Scotland and we've done China, and they were lots of fun. And in the comments, you guys recommended a whole heap of countries, and we're going to do all of them.
Eventually.
But
calm down.
Yeah, like...
Not right now.
Lots of Asian countries, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, I do feel like it was probably May, and therefore a little bit Asian reader funny.
It hasn't been that long. Anyway, what we're going to do today is we're going to do the Philippines. What do you know about the Philippines?
I know about 2 books from the Philippines.
I know that the capital city is Manila, and it's on the island Luzon. And I know that
because of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Very, like, stylish Frankenstein hairdo.
She's so funny. I know very little about the Philippines.
I know my sister's partner's father lives there.
I know that they were occupied by Japan.
I know skeezy old Aussies in their 70s go over there for... Don't do that. That's disgusting. I mean, like, it's actually exploitative.
Exploitative is a better word than disgusting.
Yeah, but my brain wasn't quick enough to say it the first time around.
So, how many books have we got?
We got 4 books. We got 4 books from the Philippines. And I guess I will start, won't I?
Yeah.
Okay, the first book I've got is Noli Me Tangere, Touch Not Me. And it's by Josie Rizal. Now, do the Philippines, do they pronounce the J or not? Like, because the Portuguese would call it Josie, which is what I think they do, or would he be Jose? Anyway, this is the classic of Filipino literature. This is the one that everybody, like, this is the Filipino Shakespeare in this novel.
Oh.
Right. It is often taught in Filipino high school in grade 9, and in grade 10 they learn el filibusterino, which is obviously the Spanish word for filibuster, but I can't quite get that out, which means the subversive. And that is the sequel to this, and it was published a little bit later. Anyway, this is a real controversial book, or well, it was at the time.
Why?
Because, see, the author sort of gallivanted about Europe and wrote his books, right? And he wrote his books about the Philippines. And it was banned in Manila until 1899, which is really interesting because the Filipino government, which was the Spanish authorities at the time, credited it with the uprising, the Filipino Rebellion in 1896, 3 years before it was printed in Manila.
Oh. Right. So it's causing rebellions before it's born. Before it's born.
Like, it was published in 87, right? So it had been around for 9 years at the time, but it was illegal to print it in Manila at the time. And the author went back to the Philippines and got involved in this rebellion against the Spanish authorities. And the Spanish authorities caught him and charged him with rebellion, which he denied, and they found him guilty, and they sentenced him to death via firing squad. And because of his status as a national hero, none of the people in the firing squad wanted to shoot him. So do you know what the Spanish people did? They hired a second firing squad to shoot the first firing squad if they didn't kill him.
No.
Oh, that's a bit bastardly. Anyway, the title of this book was also the name of a cancer in an unknown cancer at the time, and this can be interpreted as Rizal's exploration of the cancer of Filipino society of the time and its anti-ruler and anti-Spanish sentiment. He was a very angry man about the injustices of society.
I mean, it sounds like, there's probably some stuff to be angry about.
Essentially, he called the Spanish people a bunch of names, and the Spanish people shot him. And I have to say, I think I might be on his side.
Just a little.
Just a little. I mean...
When was this one published?
So that was in 1887.
Ooh, 1887.
Yeah. So this is the sort of... the first-ish one. Like, I'm sure there were Filipino books before it, but this is like he put a flag down,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
What have you got, Nell?
I've got Banag at Sikat, which was published in 1906, and it's been credited as being sort of... It was written in Tagalog, which is... dialect. Is it technically a language? I'm not sure if it's a language or a dialect. So it was written in Tagalog, which is spoken by 17 million people in Asia. So it's not a small language, but it was credited... Well, it wasn't the first novel written in Tagalog. It was credited as being sort of the start of a system for writing novels in Tagalog. Now, I don't know what... that word system seems to be the word they're describing, not a structure or anything like that. The system is the word that keeps coming up, and I'm not sure if that is a convention or if there is something specific about how Tagalog is written that requires handling in a special way.
I guess all languages, when they're like colonialized by Europeans, all the local languages really struggle for representation in literature, wouldn't they? Like, I
imagine so. Just this word system seems a bit strange to me. So I'm not perfectly sure what they mean, but this book was important in the proliferation of Tagalog literature into the future. So that's the number one reason that it's on the list.
What's the number two reason?
It sounds really interesting. That's the number two reason. It's about two friends, a socialist and an anarchist. Bam! How can you not want to read it now?
I mean, I've often wondered whether I'm a socialist or an anarchist.
Well, maybe whether you identify with Delphin or Philippe might help you in your discovery of whether you're a socialist or an anarchist. Basically, they both fall in love with people who it's inconvenient to fall in love with. Our socialist comes from a poor background and our anarchist comes from a rich background, and there's a bit of intrigue and a couple of love stories and all sorts of things going on in this. It sounds really interesting, and it's clearly a what's the word I'm looking for? Allegory for politics at the time. So I'm quite keen to read this one. It's by Lope K. Santos, and is well studied.
Okay, my next book is called Decada 70 with a little dash, an apostrophe in front of the 70. I suppose the Philippines, growing up in the 80s when we grew up, one of the things that sort of sticks out about the Philippines is Marcos. Yeah, so Marcos was like the government of the time, and he was a bit of a fascist arsehole, right? And during his time, he did a bunch of bad shit. One of the examples is that he did what's called the Miranda Plaza bombing, where he killed 9 and injured 100 members of the Liberal Party, which were the opposition party. of the time. He also suspended the writ of habeas corpus, which means that he could not. The writ of habeas corpus basically means you can't throw somebody in jail for no reason. So that basically meant that he could lock up whoever he wanted, and he, he did, and he would lock up his political enemies, the people who wanted to kick him out. This is a book about a middle-class family growing up with all of that in the background and all of that happening. The protagonist of it is Amanda Bartolome. The protagonist is Amanda Bartolome, and she's forced to deal with the oppressive laws of the Marcos government while balancing the need to look after her 5 sons who all grow up in this time, and it's very much like a mother splitting her responsibilities between what she has to do in that time. You can sort of see how she's pulled in different directions.
Awesome. And then the last book is Illustrato by Miguel Sajuco. I'm a bit confused by the synopsis of this because the story begins with Filipino literary figure Crispin Salvador being found in the Hudson River dead, and then his death is considered to not be suspicious or have any foul play. So it's investigated by Crispin's friend and student, who happens to have the same name as the author, Miguel Sajuco. Its descriptions of the book say that it layers fiction and non-fiction. So I would be very interested to read this because it seems a little bit of a defies descriptions sort of scenario, but very interesting in topic matter and I think in structure potentially.
Sounds quite experimental.
It does.
Yeah. And it won the Asian Man Booker Prize or something, didn't it?
It's the Man Asia Prize, yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our 4 book recommendations for the Philippines. So, what about you? Have you read any books from the Philippines? Do you have a favorite one?
Tell us in the comments.
Yeah. Also, let us know if you have a country. We do have a list of 5 other countries that we're going to do, but let us know if you have a country that you would like us to do some research for and find 4 books to represent their culture.
Thanks.
Bye.
I'm cheating.
You are cheating.
See how I cheat?
You do fucking cheat.
I'm a genius. It's not my fault you're not as smart as me.
Yeah, I thought I'd be the one to pull the faces for once.
Nah.